Okay, so as we are moving into our self-portrait unit, we're going to start taking a closer look at the individual facial features and how we can start adding in value to bring them to life. Some of the things I like to have handy is just a regular number 2 pencil, a blending stump, a kneaded eraser, a white eraser, and then a few of the drawing pencils that have different softness, just to continue on bringing in those values. And then the last one is just a traditional drawing pencil. And as you take a look at the pencils, they do tell you the hardness, the softness of them. So this one is just a 6B. The other one that I showed was a 2B. So taking a closer look at the eye itself. To start your eye, you want to do a basic eye shape. This always changes based on the age of the person, the gender, and the ethnicity. So some people have different shaped eyes. Some have more of those Disney princess big round eyes. Others, like myself, have more of an almond shaped eye where it elongates towards the one end of it. But you do want to take a look, since this is a self-portrait, of yourself in a mirror or just a photo of yourself, and really concentrate on that eye shape. Okay, to start this off, I'm going to go ahead and move that aside here. What I did is I just did a general kind of blocking in of that same eye shape that I just showed you in the other photo there. And now that we've got our basic eye shape in place, so we're just kind of, again, this is going to be more of the almond shape eye. So just with a number 2 pencil, I just went in and blocked out the basic outside shape of the eye, then the lower lid, leaving a little bit of room for that tear duct right here, and adding a little bit of an upper eyelid kind of crease. So on the inside then, I'm imagining where I want the iris to show. And I'm just doing a basic like lowercase U shape. If somebody is looking directly into the camera, you might, just start off with like a small little parentheses shape. But you should not see a perfect circle anymore. So really what the perfect circle, the full iris is showing is somebody is very scared or kind of upset. But that's really the only time that you see the entire iris. Otherwise, the upper lid and the lower lid just kind of graze and cover parts of that iris. So I've got the outside iris blocked in, and then I would go in and do a shape for the pupil of the eye. Now I left a little open area. I'm imagining this to be my highlight, where I'm going to leave that into the pure white. So I don't have a perfect circle going on for the inside of the iris. And then I went ahead and just drew in, kind of blocked in where I imagined the eyebrow to be. And you can do little measurements so the eyebrow kind of falls right to the outside of the eye, closer to the tear duct over here. And then to the outside on this side, if I just take my pencil, you can kind of measure it right from the corner of the eye. But it's just a blocking, a placement, so I kind of have an idea of where I'm going to put everything, and I want to make sure you're able to see. Okay, so now adding in the values to the eye. My next step would be to kind of go into the iris and do a little bit of shading right across the top of it. Again, I'm just using a regular number 2 pencil, and there is a little shading where that upper eyelid does a cast shadow right onto the iris. And then I could add in a little bit of shading into the outside corner. So again, I'm taking that 2D flat object and making it more into the sphere or that 3D shape. I'm just blocking a little bit in, not too much. And then I could go into the iris. Now, I'm not filling this all with one flat color, just putting in little marks right around. And notice that I am moving my hand to follow the curve of the eye. I don't want any perfectly vertical marks or horizontal marks, just getting a base color down. All right, so here you can already see starting to take a little bit of shape. And I could even take this right onto the upper eyelid. I'm going to leave a little area for a highlight more to this, I think off to the right, because that's where my highlight on the inside of the pupil is showing. So I'm just putting down a little bit of a base color here and blending it in with my finger. There we go. I feel like I lost a little of that lower lid, so I'm just going to go in and retouch that up a little bit there. Okay, and if you didn't want to use your finger, you could go ahead and use the blending stump to even push it further. And it does smooth out a lot of that graphite. I want to keep that nice shadow that I got building up to the top. And bring those same kind of shading up to that upper eyelid. Again, leaving a little area right about here where I'm going to put more highlights. Okay. All right, so that would be my base layer. Now I'm going to grab my 6B pencil and I want to bring out that outside edge of the iris and darken that down and redefine my lines. Now the inside pupil, that's actually going to be the darkest area of the eye, so I could go ahead and darken that down. Again, I'm leaving that little area for the highlight, just leaving that plain white. Now I'm just kind of playing with the values and the tones that I've already started developing. Adding a bit more to that outside edge. And going back into my crease and defining that shape a little more. Okay. Now at this time, I'm going to go ahead and start bringing that darker shade up further onto the upper eyelid. Keeping in mind where I want to keep it lighter. I'm going to go ahead and blend this. I think I could even bring that shadow down even a little further onto the eye. Now the eye sits in a socket, so I can go ahead and darken this area down to the side of the nose. Now for the eye that I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and blend this even further. If you get a little too dark with something, you can go ahead in with your kneaded eraser and just pull that back out. I'm just tapping that kneaded eraser right into the design. Now for demo purposes, I'm making this a little darker than I normally would. Here I'm going in with my 2B. And here I'm going to turn my paper and start getting some more values into those little flecks of the color of the eye and right along that outside rim. Bring that down. And it's not like a perfect line. You know, some of those little color flecks will break further into the sphere than others. switch over. Again, nothing too vertical or definitely no horizontal lines in this eye. And I'm just playing with some of the values I got built. Go back over that rim one more time. And instead of using my blending stump, I'm just blending it with my pencil. Here you can see it starting to come to light. See if I can put the camera back a little for you. Now I'm going to go back with my stump. I do have a lot of lead on here already built up, so just off to the side I could take some of that extra lead off, or I might even just use a little bit more to kind of put in where I imagine the side of the nose to be. Really what I'm doing here is just trying to get some of that extra lead off. I'm going to put down a base layer up here in the eyebrow. All right, doesn't look too bad so far. Again, for demo purposes, I am going a little bit darker so you can see it all on the camera. Not too bad there. Definitely could spend some more time blending in here, but I'm going to switch it up and go back to just my regular drawing pencil. Now that I've got the shadow built up, giving it that 3D sphere, I'm just going to build it up a little bit further, darkening down a few areas and blending that out. Again, I have not even gone into that center highlight area, so it looks a little silly yet. I'm going to bring the lead I just put down right over to the iris. There we go. And just off screen there, I was wiping off some extra of the graphite. You can see it spreading down onto the paper. There we go. I turn it so you can see back on the screen. And now what I'm going to do is start adding in little bits for the eyelashes. So to do that, I'm just going to grab my kneaded eraser and I'm going to form it. So I can get back in here and pull up a few highlights yet. Couple areas that got a little dark on me. Go. And maybe a little bit more into the pupil. Got a little too much there. Go back in and redefine the edge there. Okay, so now I would be ready to start adding in the eyelashes. Now for the eyelashes, I shouldn't see anything like that rake where they just come stick straight up anymore. I'm going to switch over to my harder pencil here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to position the pencil right on the bottom lid, the upper lid, the bottom side. And I'm going to lightly kind of flick my wrist so I get a softer line variation. If you've ever taken a close look in the mirror at eyelashes, they kind of do whatever they want to do. Some will go to the left, some will go to the right. They're a little bit wonky. You will see it being thicker down to the bottom here. and then flicking my wrist so it's thicker down here, and then it thins out to this upper side. And normally eyelashes are a little longer on the outside edge than they would be closer to the inside where the tear duct is. So again, I'm just kind of flicking my wrist, giving it a soft, gentle curve. And if one of the sides of your pencil kind of dulls down, you can turn your pencil. I'm going to actually turn my paper now so I can still follow that curve. Following that inside eyelid. And as I'm getting closer to the tear duct, I am making the lashes a little smaller. And they don't actually extend all the way down into the tear duct. I'm going to stop a little bit before that. So something like that is pretty good. And then I like to go in and just darken that edge a little bit more where they would be thicker. Maybe I'm going to put a few extra out here and really give it some length. And if you go overboard like I did right here, a little too long, again, kneaded eraser, you can just push it right into your paper and pull some of those eyelashes back. Here, I'm just going to grab even a little bit darker. And I want to concentrate on bringing this eye to life, defining it, giving it some more shape, and I'm just playing with the values here. There, it's starting to take some more shape. Now I could continue playing around with this for at least another 20 minutes just on this one eye, but for the purposes of demo, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to move up to the upper eyebrow. So very similar to what's happening with the eyelashes right here. I'm going to start filling in the upper eyebrow. You don't want to worry about getting every single hair follicle in the eyebrow. You just want to get that shape. And again, they kind of do what they want sometimes. So small little strokes with your pencil. And I'm following that shape that I blocked in. And I could break out of that shape too if I feel like it needs a little bit more oomph. I'm going to extend this one just a little. And just building that up. I don't want it to look like a drawn on or painted eyebrow. I want it to have a natural shape to it. And that's why I'm breaking outside of the form that I drew. Something like that. Here again, I could go in with my blending stump and just blend some of those lines out. I'm still imagining my light source to be coming from the right, so I want to leave a little area for it to be lighter. Just softening. Here I could extend that edge of the eyebrow. And darkening the upper lid, doing that cast shadow. Taking the extra off and building the outside ridge of the nose. A lot of times when I'm doing portrait work, I will rely very heavily on my blending stump just to take that extra lead and play around with it off to the side. So I'm building up that socket that the eye is sitting in. Okay, there we go. And then I might still go back in with either my white eraser or my kneaded eraser and pull and play with some of the highlights there. I'm trying to tilt it so you can see it into the camera a little more. And down here on the bottom lid, I got a little over blended, going back in and pulling some of that out. And just reshaping that. So that is the basic for the upper part of the eye, the iris, the pupil, beginning the side of the nose and into the eyebrows. Off to the right-hand side, as we go into portraits, I do have just a little matrix here giving you a breakdown of where things are positioned on the face. So if I did the top of the crown of the head right up here and then bottom chin here, if I divide that equally in half, you'll kind of find your spot where your eyes are starting. If I divide that entire shape into thirds, you've got a place where your upper eyebrows are starting, the lower tip of the nose, and then the bottom chin. But we will go more into depth with this later on too, but I wanted to hop on here and show you a little bit of an overview for the eye. I'm just going to go in and play again, just darkening down as I was looking on the camera. There's always room for improvement and going back in and redefining and playing with it further. Please let me know if you have any questions.